Coach, I'm sure you probably want to improve in every aspect of your defense, but when you and the staff went back and looked at last season, what are some of the maybe the top line items that you as a defense want to improve going into next season?
Yeah, we want to be better on third and long. That was one thing that I thought we did a really good job, getting guys in some what we would think is some high predictable situations, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and we didn't cash in, as much as we needed to do. So, we obviously took a really deep dive into that, try to evaluate it, from scheme to players to, situation, just making sure that, we're putting the guys in the best possible positions and making sure we got the right guys to obviously be in there to execute. So that was one of the bigger things that we took away from it.
Coach, it's obviously early in the game, but what would you like the identity of your defense to be next season?
Yeah, I don't think that ever changes. You want to be tough, you want to be relentless, in terms of how hard you play, and we want to be smart. I think those are three, components that you're constantly trying to build a defense around. So, we are a work in progress. As we know, it's a new year, going into a new season. We obviously lost some parts. We got some guys back, that obviously we're excited about. But as I told the group, no interception, no tackle for loss that we created last year carries over to the next season. So, we got to start from scratch, and build the thing and get ready to go.
Coach, how much does it help having leaders back like Paige, Flowers, as you get spring ball underway here?
I think it's big, because obviously those guys had some success last season. They got great experience, so, it won't be foreign to them in terms of some of the things that, we obviously have within our system, and being able to teach some of the younger guys exactly what the expectations are and how we go about our business. So, it's exciting. That is definitely an exciting part to have some guys back, but those guys also understand there's a lot of work yet to be done.
Go to the left, Austin, Eric, and me.
Coach, could you just talk about, Elijah Herring, what you all liked about him in recruiting and what you've liked since he's gotten here, both in the off-season program and out there through 2 days?
Yeah, first, Elijah's just such a great kid. He's super competitive, good size, athleticism, but just the way he goes about his business, day in and day out. We thought we would get that, but sometimes you don't know till you actually get a chance to open up the present. And, he has not disappointed that way. He's just a kid who wants to please, wants to do things the right way. Great energy in the weight room, great energy on the field. We're super excited, obviously that he's here. We think it's great things on the horizon for him.
What's Juwan Mitchell got to do this spring to kind of get back on track and try to get to a position where he can really help you in the fall?
Yeah, well, obviously being healthy is the biggest deal, and he's worked really hard to put himself in a position to be able to contribute this year. So right now we're pleased with his development and where he is. He's working hard. I'm really excited, once we can totally get him going. But, I think he's going to be fine. I really do. He's worked hard. I think obviously sitting out and missing, so many games, there is some rust to be knocked off. But what he may have missed from a physical component, I think he'll make up just from sheer learning and seeing the system and having extra classroom time. So I'm hoping from a mental perspective he'll be further ahead, and obviously once he can get going, we expect him to be, obviously able to help us in the program this year.
What are those limitations this spring? I would assume not full go yet.
Yeah, I leave that to hype and, obviously the trainers to tell me, but when they say he's ready to go, we'll definitely get him going.
With you all being banged up at corner right now, just how frustrating is that to get some work, and how are y'all going about getting guys work, and what have you seen from Desmond Williams so far?
Yeah, it's obviously a challenge anytime you don't have your full allotment of guys out there, but at the same time, another man's loss is another man's opportunity. So, we got some young guys and obviously, some guys that, you guys probably won't even know in this room, but there is an opportunity there. So those guys are getting reps. The standard doesn't change. We expect them to play hard. We expect them to be physical and all those good things. But, will we like those other guys out there? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, even if they can't do something physically, those guys are obviously working hard, in the classroom. So I expect those guys to be ready when the time is right. And as far as D, D's been good. I think D's done a nice job, just trying to, learn exactly what we're doing and how to do it. But so far he's working at a pace that, that we're satisfied with. I think he understands, he's taking another step in class. So he'll continue to get better. It's obviously just day 2. But I saw some improvement from the first day to the second. So I expect for him to, continue on that path.
Britt on the left and Adam on the
Yeah, Coach, with an identity in place, which you didn't have a year ago, how different are your developmental goals for this unit this year compared to last?
Yeah, I think like I said earlier, I think, what we have is a culture, hopefully, that we've got in place. So, but I think you have to start over every single year and break it down and make sure the guys understand again what the expectations are. I think the thing that's easier is you got some guys that can preach the gospel for you, because last year was just the coaches and trying to teach, here's what our expectations are. But now as we're doing it again, now you have guys explaining it right with us, right in line. So, the standard has not changed. We're excited about it. As far as the young kids learning it, I think it'll be just like it was last year. It's going to take some of those younger guys to get caught up to speed, but hopefully with the experienced guys we got coming back, we can speed that thing up and get those guys to be able to play at a high level sooner than later.
With that said, do you like your leadership on that?
I do. So far, so good. So far, so good. And we're basing that on, not just 2 days of practice, but obviously the off season and how they went about their business, how their bodies have changed. Some guys have, dropped a considerable amount of body fat. So they're trying to do the right things off the field, which is always a good sign. We talk a lot about, doing the right thing in the classroom and just being a, well-rounded person, because we feel like if you have the discipline to be on the off the field, do the right things, then that discipline should show up on the field. So, we really preach that a lot, and we feel like we're starting to see some payoff to it, if you will.
Couple questions. One, you talked about third down defense. Haps talked about that. That seems like an in-season adjustment. What can you really do in the spring that can improve third down defense?
Well, I think it's just like anything. You're going to work at every single situation that you saw from last season, right? You kind of lean on the experiences that you had based on last season, but ultimately I think what you're saying is you can't get it done to the game, but you obviously have to practice it. So, whether it's third and extra long, whether it's third and medium, just making sure the kids understand very clearly what the situation is, and then obviously us as coaches try to put them in the right situations. But, it's no different than, why you do red zone or why you do 1st and 10. I mean, you got to practice it, obviously, to be ready for it during the season. It's only so many concepts you're going to see, and our offense obviously does a great job, on what they do. So I think we'll be, at a point where we're seeing just about everything. It's just a matter of reacting when the time is right.
And a follow-up on D. Williams. He can gain reps with those other guys out. He loses the fact, though, that he doesn't get to watch those guys with more experience. How do you balance the pros and cons for him not having those guys out there with him?
Yeah, that's always a challenge. But at the end of the day, I think most people would tell you they'd rather do it than watch it. So having the ability to get out there and do it is really a benefit to him, I think, in the long run. But he also has the ability to watch tape from last season and watch some of those guys perform. And obviously those guys are still out there with him, and coaching them just like we are. So I think it's a win for him in terms of being able to get out there and probably gain more reps than maybe he would, if those other guys had been healthy. So I think he'll be fine. He'll at least get the opportunity to prove that he can do it.
Coach, you were spending a lot of time with the defensive backs during the open media session. What do you want to see develop? What do you want to coach in that group?
Yeah, just kind of what we've been talking about. We don't have a ton of depth right there at this moment, so just making sure the guys that we have in there, are prepared and ready to go. We're going to see, a lot of different looks from our offense, and I just want to make sure those guys, have the right mindset, which I know they will. Coach Martinez does a tremendous job with those guys. But I just want to make sure that, we won't use youth or inexperience as a crutch, because the reality of it is, we're going to get the guys ready that we have, and we're going to go to battle. So if it happens to be those guys that we're working with this spring, then so be it. So, we're going to coach the guys we got, and I just want to make sure those guys are ready to go.
Tim, with some of the guys that y'all were able to return there on the edge and maybe some of the guys you've recruited as well, how much more effective do you think that group can be in terms of, I know y'all had some tackles for losses and sacks last year, but maybe getting there without blitzes and helping that third down defense?
Sure. Yeah. No, we're excited about the guys that are coming back again from an experience standpoint. Obviously Tyler and, and the rest of the guys. We think they'll be better, because they've played more. And obviously we feel like we've recruited, some pretty good edge rushers that we think will have a chance to develop and be able to affect the game in a positive way. But the reality of it is, we have to improve. We want to be better, at winning some one-on-ones. But I think the guys understand that to a man, and I think they're up for the challenge.
Coach, with not having a spring game, obviously because of the construction, that's a legit reason, but how do you compensate for not being able to evaluate in a live session with fans and them being on their own for their assignments?
Yeah, well, we like to think we bring the energy every day and try to create as much of a hostile environment as we can. But yeah, I think that's probably more for the younger guys that haven't been in the arena. That's a challenge because they won't feel the passion, particularly with our own fan base. But but at the end of the day, we just talk about put the ball down. You want to be able to play regardless of what the environment is, and this will be one of those situations in the spring. So we might be on a road where maybe they're not as passionate, as UT fans, and we still got to go out and play with great energy and great juice. So we're going to treat the spring the same.
Tim, I know it's just 2 days not in pads, but what have you seen so far from Jordan Phillips, and how much did it help for him to get such an extended look during bowl practices in December?
Yeah, it's been good. Like you said, it's kind of hard to evaluate D linemen, and linebackers for that matter, with no pads on. But the thing that I love about Jordan is just, again, he wants to please, he wants to be great. He's a high, effort type of kid, and you tell him, what you want to get done, and he's going to try to do it, exactly how you asked him to do it. So from that perspective, he's been awesome. But just like anything, it's obviously, when you step up in class, to a program like UT, it may take him a minute, but the good news is, he's ready and willing. I think the reality, him having a couple of those bowl practices, though, to answer your question, I think that has helped him. I think that has benefited him. He understands a little bit more, how Coach G coaches, what his expectations are, and I think he's obviously further ahead than he would have been if, he obviously had just gotten here.
And also Tyree West, just any thoughts on him too?
Yeah, Tyree is he's working. He wants to be good. He's figuring out exactly how we do things and how we want things done. So from a talent perspective, I think he's going to be fine. I think obviously guys all learn differently and all have different experiences based on their high school and where they come from. So. But he's getting it. I know he wants to. He's smiling every day. He's excited to be here. So I'm pleased with him. I'm happy he's here.
How big of an opportunity is it for some of those young safeties? They're practicing out of position a little bit, some of them over a corner, but looks like they're going to be getting a lot more reps this spring. Speak on that opportunity, if you would.
Yeah, I think, particularly, in defensive back room, we don't, I know you guys talk about safeties and corners, even when we're recruiting, we don't think of it that way. We just want to recruit DBs. The more you can do, the more versatility you have, the better it is for us schematically, and even in situations like this, someone gets dinged up and we need to move the next best guy in. You don't want to be handcuffed because all he can play is safety or all he can play is corner. So it's really awesome, to be honest, because those guys are getting some really good reps out there, going against some really good wideouts on the edges, whether they move back inside or stay out there. I think in the long run, it's going to work to their favor.
Coach, you touched on the edge guys earlier. Byron Young was a guy that you guys probably didn't know much about, him coming in from junior college a year ago. Now that you've seen him play and produce, what can he kind of do next, and what have you sort of seen from him this offseason as he's taking maybe the next step?
Yeah, I think BY is getting a lot more comfortable with trying to lead, which is awesome. He's not a guy that's, super vocal all the time, but we put him in situations during this offseason where we forced him to do it, and I think he's responded in a positive way. He's obviously talented. He's got good twitch. He can run. He's put on good weight. I'm excited, about him, to be honest. I think he has a chance to really take another step. He's a kid who hadn't played a lot of football to last year, and, I thought as the season went on, obviously you guys could see the productivity, but, for us, we could just see the growth. So, every rep, is valuable, but for him in particular, every single rep he takes, you can see him starting to get better and better. So I think the sky's the limit. I think he really just started to scratch the surface on how good he can be. We'll see. He's got, a couple more opportunities, obviously, through this spring, and then we'll hopefully build upon it in the summer, and we'll cut him loose this fall.
Last spring, you were without basically all your linebackers. This year, you're missing a lot of guys in the secondary. How can you compare the two? Are they similar? And can you take something you were able to use last spring and use it to this year?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing about last season was, we didn't have any reference. You could try to look at the tape, but, I just didn't. We wanted to judge these guys on their own merit. So, but now the guys that are out, we know who they are. We had a chance to work with them, whether it was the spring and the fall or some kids just the fall. So we know what we have waiting. This is really just an opportunity to coach the guys that we got right now. But when we're coaching the linebackers, you just didn't know. You didn't know how good JB could be. You didn't know, how athletic he was or what kind of passion he has. But, I know who Warren Burrell is, So it's a little bit different, but at the end of the day, as I stated earlier, it's just probably a better opportunity for some of these other younger DBs to get a chance to play at some different positions and obviously get some reps that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have gotten.
What have you seen from Gerald Mincey just on film, and then what have you seen from him just so far in the past couple days of his skill level? Oh, wait, my bad. Sorry. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, what about Jackson?
You know what? I have put on a little weight. Do I look like Golish a little bit?
Sorry.
Is that
Yeah,
I threw you with this?
Wrong
I know.
one. Wrong
my
one.
wife keeps telling me I need to get my tail running again. So
Sorry.
I'm just messing with you, man. Go
What
ahead.
about all right. Just as far as linebackers are concerned, Jeremy Banks, his stability that he brings.
Yeah. No, I love JB. JB has tremendous amount of passion and energy. He's a fire plug, man. He plays hard. I think the game will start to even slow down for him. I know, prior to last season, he had played some, in some different situations. But, last season was the most snaps he had ever played. And I thought he got better, but I think he'd be the first one to tell you, it's still a lot of food left on the plate. And I know he's eager to get the things done, get some corrections, and really put himself in a position to have an even better year this season.
Just with Elijah Simmons, what's y'all's message as a coaching staff been to him, and what have you seen from him so far this offseason?
Big Elijah? Yes. Elijah's one of the guys that we talked about have changed his body. We think Elijah has a chance to be a really, really good player. He's worked hard to try to get a six-pack. You can print that, right? So he won. His body has slimmed down, which is obviously giving him the ability to move a little bit better, to show a little bit more explosiveness. He's always been a strong kid, and he's a naturally big kid anyway. Obviously being beat up a little bit last year, did not help his cause, but he's been committed. He really has. He's one of the guys I was thinking about when you talk about off-season and being committed to, putting the right things in your body. And, you can kind of see it, from, how his, body fat has changed. So we're hoping that he can obviously stay healthy, which we think he will, particularly with how he slimmed down. But so far, and again, it's only been 2 days, but the fact that his body has changed the way it has tell me he's headed in the right direction.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Appreciate you guys.